Hello and welcome back to another one of my FPL videos. I of course am the FPL train, and in this video I'm going to be doing something I wasn't exactly planning on doing ahead of game week 12 if being honest, but game week 11 has been that mental. I've decided to do a wildcard team ahead of game week 12 just because of how bad game week 11 was. People might, just because of their low scores, want a wildcard now, or they might be so unlucky they've had injuries, suspensions, whatever, because I don't know if you watched that Chelsea game last night, but that was absolutely mental, particularly if you had three Spurs players who all went off in that game last night. So, for example, look at this team I've got here. Look how many flags there are. So, obviously, Neto, Jesus, and Botman, they're all long-term problems, they are. They're before game week 11. But you're looking at Dan Burn. He went off at half-time. He's now a long-term injury. Romero, Udogi, and McAllister all suspended for game week 12. Obviously, Romero's going to be a little bit longer than gone game week 12. Then you got in your midfield, Rashford's flagged. I expect him to be back though. Same with Odegaard. I expect him to be back. Don't know how long they'll be out for, but I do expect them back for Burnley and Luton. Maddison, we don't know how long his injury is going to be for. Obviously, he went off last night. Is it long term? It is a worrying one because obviously nobody was near him when he got injured. So God knows what could happen there. Haaland, I kind of expect him to be back for Chelsea. Pep didn't seem to be too worried about that. Flecken, apparently that's just a dead leg. Cash looks like he's going to be fine, but again, he's flagged up. Same Muniz, he's also flagged up. Imagine if you had most of these players in your team, and you haven't obviously wildcarded, you're very lucky that you can hit that chip now and get rid of all these problems. The only person in this team that's not flagged up is Turner in goal, but he's now finally lost his position at Forest. He was playing poorly for quite a while. They finally replaced him. Obviously now, after that great result, 2-0 win for Forest, he's not going to be back in the team, I don't think, now for the rest of the season. So that's another issue if you got him as well. So many issues that I felt the need to finally, well, I was going to say finally, it makes no sense that, but I felt the need that we should do a wildcard team just to show you what there is out there for the next few game weeks. So then, to kick us off in goal, I've gone for David Raya of Arsenal and Areola of West Ham for my goalkeepers. So that means obviously no more Turner. Unfortunately, he's not going to start anymore, so you got to get rid of him. And why not go for Raya? He's 4.8 million, challenging for the Premier League in a quality Arsenal defence. Even with costly mistakes that he's made in recent weeks, Arteta's kept him in goal, so he's clearly the number one goalkeeper. Ramsdale's only came on for, what was it, a cup competition game, so for sure Raya will be starting in goal. And obviously Arsenal fixtures coming up are great. You got Burnley in game week 12. I think that's a great chance there for a clean sheet. 13, it is Brentford. Now, obviously, Raya's on loan at Arsenal this season, so he won't be playing in that game. But 14, Wolves, and 15 is Luton. So that's a good run of fixtures there. And then you're looking at West Ham. They've got Forest in 12, but obviously you won't start him for that game. You'll have Raya. 13, no, you'll have to put Areola in goal, and he's got Burnley away, so that's a good chance there for a clean sheet. Then he's got Palace at home, Spurs away, but obviously you won't want him in goal then when you've got obviously Arsenal. We've got a nice fixture against, is it Wolves that game week? No, sorry, Luton. So obviously you have Arsenal there. And then obviously game week 16, he's got Fulham, and 17 is Wolves. So right up to game week 17 there, you got a great run of fixtures there for your goalkeepers. So feels like a no-brainer. Hopefully West Ham can get some clean sheets in that, because obviously they have been disappointing at the back, but they keep conceding. Hopefully that does end soon. But yeah, that is probably the best combination of goalkeepers to go for. So then, on to the defenders now. As you can see, I've got Fabian Schär as my Newcastle defender. Now, I have spent all my budget, so you can't get Kieran Trippier in this team, just because I wanted to put extra funds in my midfield and my strikers. But if you don't fancy certain players in this team, and you want obviously Kieran Trippier in, because I do think he's the best Newcastle asset, then yeah, I get that. But if you want to also at the same time save some money, you can obviously take Shaw out and bring in Lascelles, who's definitely going to start because Botman's long-term injury. And also you have the issue, obviously now Dan Burns out, Target is also out. So you've got the left-back role up for grabs. So it's either going to be Livramento or Lewis Hall. Now, I don't know who it's going to be. That's why I don't have either one of them. Now, whoever it is that starts in that position in the next game week, obviously looking up, we've got Champions League game coming up midweek, so we'll be able to see who he starts there. So it'd be interesting to see what Eddie Howe does. He could start one of them in the Champions League and then one of them in the Premier League. We don't know. So I thought I'm going to hold off on that decision. I'll definitely wait for both of those games, see which one he favours. If he goes for one in both games, then definitely go for either Hull or Liverpool in that game week. But for now, I've got Shaw in this team. Bournemouth away next game. It is a nice fixture. Now, to be fair, they have got tougher fixtures. Chelsea and Man United at home, but it is at home. And obviously, Chelsea and Man United are not the teams of old. Then after that, they've got obviously Everton away. Spurs away is a little tougher, but then it's Fulham and Luton Forest after that. So, a little nice run there afterwards. So, not too bad for Newcastle. They are a great team. Hopefully, all these injuries and suspensions don't affect them, but for sure, I feel like you should have at least one Newcastle defender. I've also then got Saliba at the back, so that makes it kind of like a double Arsenal defence. So I've only gone for one Arsenal attacker. Now, Saliba, he's guaranteed to start. He's their best defender in my opinion. I think he's probably one of the best defenders in the league. Burnley at home, great fixture for him. I think he'll get a clean sheet there. But then it's obviously Brentford, Wolves, Luton. Great run of fixtures there for Saliba. I mean, you could go for Gabriel, who is a bit cheaper at 4.7, but I've just gone for Saliba because I prefer him. But if you want to go for Gabriel, save 0.5 million, then yeah, why not? I don't see that being a bad pick. There's just that slight chance of rotation with Gabriel. That's the only issue I've got with him. I've then got obviously Tyreek Mitchell alongside him. Looks like it's knee-jerk because obviously got that goal for Crystal Palace, but I did say a few weeks ago in one of my transfer plans videos, bringing in Tyreek Mitchell would be a great option instead of any of the other guys at Crystal Palace because he's left back, he's 100% start, so there is always that chance that he could get forward. Obviously Anderson, he has got a couple of goals for Crystal Palace, that's why people went for him, but I've always said Tyreek Mitchell is the best option. Obviously Crystal Palace's defence has been pretty solid this season, and when you look at Everton and Luton, the next two fixtures, then it's West Ham and then it's Bournemouth. That's a good run of fixtures for Crystal Palace, so I definitely recommend going for Tyreek Mitchell, particularly with that game week 13 fixture, because there's a few tough fixtures for certain teams, and obviously with Crystal Palace having Luton, that's a great fixture for game week 13. And then I've also got on the bench there Kufau. Now I've got him on the bench just because, like I said earlier with Areola, they just don't seem to keep clean sheets, West Ham. It's a little frustrating, but if you want to start him, 100% should I say, see why. With Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace, your next three fixtures. Obviously Spurs will be tougher for 15, so you'd leave on the bench then. But then you got obviously in 16 and 17, Fulham and Wolves. Great fixtures for him. He's been starting consistently as well for West Ham, so definitely he's probably my preferable option for West Ham's defender. But if you don't want to go for him, I'll definitely go for Emerson instead as well. And then finally there's Braithwaite. I mean, this guy has been pretty decent to be fair for Everton. He's a big guy, solid defender, and I thought, you know, he'll probably be on the bench majority of the time. He is cheap as well. So you look at Palace's next game, so you could put him in there if you want. Man United, I'd leave him out. Forest, I'd start him, then you'd leave him out probably with Newcastle and Chelsea. Bring him back probably for game week 17, it's Burnley. And then majority of the time, you'll be leaving him on your bench because they are pretty tough fixtures in the middle with Everton. Everton are poor, but so far he's been a solid centre half for Everton, so that's why I've got him in here. So then onto the midfielders, and as you can see, Jarrod Bowen up first. Now, if you don't want to go for Bowen, you want to go for Kudus or Kudus, however you say his name instead. Yeah, I 100% get that. He looks solid as well, but my number one priority for a West Ham attacker is going to be Jarrod Bowen. He's been unbelievable this season. Next three fixtures, like I've mentioned before, are great. Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace. I can see him scoring in all of these fixtures, to be fair to him. I mean, it's obviously the chances are doubtful, but there's a high chance he can do it. And for sure, that's why you want him in there. 7.4 million as well. He's pretty cheap. So that's why I feel like you should get him in your team. Mohamed Salah, I mean, next two fixtures for Liverpool aren't exactly easy. Brentford, I mean, they're at home, so that's why it's not too bad, I guess. Then Man City away, tougher fixture on the calendar. But after that, he's got Fulham, Sheffield United, and Crystal Palace. And Man United, I mean, obviously they beat them 7-0 last season, so I don't see that being a problem either for Liverpool. So good run of fixtures after the Man City game. So, and obviously if Haaland is out injured long term, I mean it's doubtful, then yeah, definitely have Mohamed Salah, and he would be the premium guy to go for. And obviously he is on penalties as well. After that, you got Saka there next to him. I've said it before, Arsenal's fixture, so he's obviously the third Arsenal player I'd have in the team. I think Burnley at home, great fixture. Brentford tougher, but then after that, next couple of fixtures are great for Saka, and I can see him doing really well there. And if let's say Odegaard's out long term as well, and there is going to be a penalty, for sure he's going to be taking it, no problems there at all. Now Son, now a little worried about this one to be fair, with all these injuries that obviously Spurs have got now, particularly Maddison, because he's linked up well with Maddison, so hopefully it doesn't affect Spurs too much, but he's been great this season. He's really unfortunate not to give that goal against Chelsea yesterday, just slightly offside. But yeah, he's looked pretty decent though. Brennan Johnson, that link up looked pretty decent as well. So I would still stick with Aaron Son just because he plays up front for Spurs. Wolves away is their next game. Think he'd do well there. Yes, Villa and Man City after that is tougher, but West Ham's nice, Newcastle's tough, then Forest and Everton, I think he can do well. I think he's scored any of these games though. He's been that good. Hopefully though, these suspensions and injuries don't affect Spurs too much. And then finally, I mean, you need a Brighton player in this team for sure. Sheffield United at home is the next fixture. That's a great fixture for Brighton, particularly with it being at the home stadium, so Amex Stadium, should I say. Then he's got obviously Forest away, which is nice. Couple of tough fixtures with obviously Chelsea and Brentford. Then it's Burnley in game week 16. So I do think the next two fixtures for sure, you want Matoma in there. He's their best player in my opinion. He's 90 minutes man. Obviously, he could get rotated. That is a slight issue. But the chances he gets rotated is definitely slim because he has been their starting guy. And Sheffield United at home, it's a must really to have a Brighton player. So solid five-man midfield, I'd say that is. And then finally then, my front three strikers. So in this team, I would actually start just for two of them. So I've got Callum Wilson, just because this fixture's coming up. So Bournemouth away, I think he can score in that. I think he'll score against his old team. And I can see him scoring against the likes of Chelsea and Man United. He's a great striker. Isaac's out long term, so he's going to be starting, no problem. After Man United, he's got Everton. After Everton, Spurs, but even then, Spurs, if they've still got problems at the back, I don't see any issues there. And then obviously they've got a nice little run, Fulham, Luton and Forest. And if Isaac's not back in that time, that's a good run of fixtures there for Callum Wilson. And his XG is great. He's a quality striker. So that's why I've got him in there. And then I've got Ollie Watkins in here. Yes, he did disappoint last game week, but I feel like Fulham at home is a nice fixture. I mean, Spurs, if they've still got their issues, isn't too bad to play them in game week 13. And then 14, they've got Bournemouth away, which is nice. So yeah, I feel like you should keep Ollie Watkins, even though he did blank. And then on the bench there, I've got Núñez. I do think it'd be a tough one, Brentford and Man City next two. If you wanted to start him for Brentford, I get that. I just don't know which midfielder you'd want to take out, if I'm being honest. Maybe you want to take out one of the strikers they've got instead, but I feel like Newcastle's and Watkins, Aston Villa's fixtures are better. So that's why I've gone for those two. But overall, I think this team is a solid team. Obviously, it could change. Haaland could be back in the Champions League game, should I say, midweek and absolutely smash it. And then that kind of wipes out my idea of what to do with a plan there. But even then, you could quite easily just change it around. Take out Salah, take out Núñez, bring in Haaland, and then you've got like an £8 million midfielder to bring in. And there's plenty of options to go for. Like I said earlier, with obviously Bowen, you've got Kudus to go for. Maybe go for him and got good fixtures. Or maybe you want another midfielder for Brighton, for example. Or you want to gamble and get Fernandes in, who's got Luton at home in game week 12. So Obviously, he's one yellow card there away from suspension, so that is an issue. But yeah, let me know what you think of this wildcard team. Let me know how you got on in Game Week 11. And don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next one.